Hello, welcome back to my channel. Okay, so in this lesson, we'll be looking at this little challenge right here titled Profile Lookup. Okay, so it's basically a challenge that it's not exactly a lesson, it's a challenge. And yeah, we'll be going through it and solving it, and then I'll be pointing out some important things as I solve it. Okay. So here we go. We have an array of objects representing different people in our contact lists. A lookup profile function that takes name and the property prop as argument has been pre-written for you. So this is the array of contacts, as you can see. Yeah, it's an array of objects actually. And then this is our lookup function, lookup profile function. It takes name and the property prop as argument. So it has two, or it takes two arguments. Right. So the function to check if name is an actual contact first name and the given property is a property of that contact. If both are true, then return the value of that property. If name does not correspond to any contact, then return the string no such contact. And if prop does not correspond to any valid properties of a contact found to match name, then return the string no such property. So without wasting time, okay, we're done reading, so let's get into it. So the most important thing we should remember is what the function should do. All right, so it says it should check if name is an actual contact first name. And okay, so let's start. So this is an array. So and as with arrays, we're going to need something to like loop through each of the elements in the array. And here we'll be using a for loop. Yeah. For loop is very, very useful in situations like this. Let's have our for loop. Let I equal to 0, I is less than, what's the name? Contact, right? Contact dot length I plus plus. And the next thing we should do is, okay, we're asked to check if name is an actual contact first name. So how do we do that? We'll just simply say if name, which is here, right? Equals, remember our equals comparison operator, to check if this equals this. If it equals the first name, so we do that by typing out the first name of the array, and then because this is inside a for loop, right? We want to use this box notation to get each at every iteration. We want to get that particular object. So and then the next thing is to get the first name, which we can just use by writing that first name, by typing the first. Okay, before I do this, I'll just like to console.log this so you can see that this actually gets the first name of every object in our array. So you can see that array Akira, Harry, Sherlock, these are the first names of all the objects in our array. So let's go on. Let me just undo this. So we're trying to find out if the name that was passed in to our function is equal to any of the first name. And then um the next thing we're to find out is if the given property does which is the one which is passed in here is actually a property of this contact. So the properties of these contacts are, these ones here: first name, last name, number, like. So these are properties and all that. So we want to check if the prop that is passed in here is actually a valid property in any of our objects. And to do that, We have a function for that. Um, we still call the, yeah, call the, the object by its name, right? Contact, and then using this to get the particular object at this, at each particular, at every loop, all right, or in every iteration, the particular element that is being um, worked on. So we have dot has own property, PUROPERCY. So we have prop. So right, so this is it. So and from our challenge or from the question, it says that if both are true, and we should return the value of that property. So if this is true and if this is true, I want to put in the return statement here. Return the value of the property. So to do that, we'll just still call the array by its name, have an I here, and also another bracket notation prop, because we do not know the name of the property. We're just passing, this is just a variable, right? So we'll use the box notation or this, yeah, bracket notation for that. So if you're new here, you could check out previous lessons. We've treated arrays and for loops and while loops in, yeah, in better. We've treated them in previous lessons, so you could just head over to other previous lessons if this is your first time here. Okay, or you could just drop a comment in the comment section, then I'll direct you to the proper video. Okay, so this is it. And then the next thing we are told here is, okay, if name does not correspond, then return no such contact. If prop does not correspond to any valid properties of a contact, then we are asked to return the string no such property. So right here, as an else, I'll just return. I don't want to type all these out. Let me just copy and paste. Yeah, no such property. Perfect. So so what this is going to do is that it's going to loop through every object inside of our array, and then for every object it's going to check if the name is equal to, in this case it's called with it's the arguments are Christian and last name, so it's going to check if Christian is actually equal to any first name of our object, and then if it is, it also check if last name is like a valid property in that particular object, and if it is, it's going to return the proper last name, all right? But if it's not, it's going to return no such property. And for the last part of this exercise or this challenge, it says if name does not correspond to any contact, return the string no such contact. So this can be a bit tricky, but I'll try my best to explain. Okay, I think I'll do it in a way that does not work, and I'll do it in a way that works. So you'll be able to see the example. So obviously we are, if you ask anybody and you just look, on the surface level, you would find out that, since we put an else inside here, to return no such property, that's if the contact does not have this property, then we should also put this second condition, right? If the prop does not correspond to any, if the name does not correspond to any contact, then return the string no such contact. So it will make sense to also put it here, because the first part of this block, this if block, is checking, or it checks if the name corresponds to any of the first name. And then if the name does not correspond, we are asked to return no such contact, right? So it should make sense, to just put it in here, no such contact. So let's try that. Return no such contact. So let's go ahead and run this and let's see what it gives us. See, so there's an issue here, and I'll tell you what the issue is and why it's not working. Okay, so it says that Christian last name should return verse, but our code is returning no such contact. But there is actually there's an object in our array that meets these two conditions, all right? That is, it has a name, it has a first name of Christian, and it has a property called last name, and that is I think it's here, yeah, this one. So it should return the value of this property, but then it returns no such contact. So why is that? Okay, let's see. So on the first iteration, right, it checks, okay, if name is equal to the it checks if name is equal to first name. That's on the first object. And this first object, the first name of this first object is equal to Akira. So that is false. So automatically it goes over to the else condition, because we've learned that once the condition in a in an if statement is evaluated to false, it skips, it does not execute the code within its curly braces. So it skips this part and then checks the and goes automatically to the else block and returns no such contact. And that is the end of our code. Like, that is where our code stops executing, because once it sees a return statement, it leaves the entire function. All right. So and after it only checked, it only looked at one object. So we don't want that. We want this to be able to go through all the objects before making a conclusion that no such property exists. So how do we do that? I'll just take this out of here and um put it in outside the for loop. Right. So that means that it's going to have to check all the contacts first of all, and then if at the end none of these conditions within this first if block is none of these conditions within this first if block is evaluated to true, then it's going to leave the for loop and come out to the next line, or execute the next line of code, which happens to be this. So by that time it would have checked all the contacts or all the objects in our contacts array. So like, it's gonna check for this first one. Now it's gonna check, okay, if Akira is this name equal to Akira, all right, is Christian equal to Akira, it's going to evaluate to a false, all right, evaluate to a false. So after it evaluates to a false, it's going to of course skip this entire block, and then since we're in a for loop, it's going to execute everything again. But this time around, um it's going to be checking the second object. All right. So the second object happens to be this, and then it will find out if that first name is Harry. Then it's not Harry, obviously, because it's Christian. Then it goes over to the next one, and to the next one, and to the next one. And after it checks everything, no it's okay, once it gets to Christian, right, which is the last one, it's gonna check, okay, does it evaluate to true, right? Is it equal to, is the first name actually equal to Christian? And that is true. So once that evaluates to true, it's to go ahead and check the if statement inside of here to find out if the contact, right, has a property called last name. So, and then obviously it does, as you can see here. So when it finds out that it contains a property called last name, it will return this, right? So, and what this basically does is that it returns the property or the value of the specified property. In this case, it is was. That's why we have was here. So I hope that wasn't too complicated. I hope that was easy to understand. So let's go ahead and run the test again, and it works. So that is the simple trick behind this challenge. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment if you've got any questions. Thank you and bye.